have with us Bhargava Ramana, who is the CEO of Maruthsakha Aviation. He is also a gold medalist recipient from GMR Aviation, and an interesting fact, he does play the Saraswathi Veena. He is an entrepreneur, he is a teacher, he does a lot of different things. But before we get into the crux of things, I'd like to understand, firstly, great having you here, Bhargava. Can you just tell us a little bit about your background and your childhood growing up?
Thank you for the introduction, sir. My background is I am basically aeronautical engineer. I did my bachelor's of technology in aeronautical engineering. Then I worked for a couple of years as an assistant professor in a couple of colleges. Then I thought of improving my qualification. So I decided to do MBA in Aviation Business Management. Upon completion of the MBA in Aviation Business Management, I had the opportunity of receiving GMR Aviation Gold Medal for the project which I have done on Aerotropolis. This is about my education qualification. My information about me is like I come from a traditional family, Hindu family based in Hyderabad. Mother is a musician, Carnatic classical musician. She plays Saraswathi Veena. That's where I got the interest and started learning it from her. And then my father is a priest in a temple. He in a temple in Hyderabad. So that's how I've been brought up and in the city of pearls, Hyderabad. So from there I moved on after completing my engineering to Bangalore. And then I did my MBA here. It was a very good experience of studying in Bangalore. It's like more than the business management. It's like something like life management, where I have to stay out from the house and then understand about myself, personal management, and I have to take care of the education also which I was studying. So it developed individualism, that I would certainly say. That's where is all about me. I meant to say how I came up and this one.
Yeah, very interesting fact about you is you play the Saraswathi Veena, and I'm guessing obviously your mother plays the instrument and that's how you were influenced. But what is the influence of music on, let's say, your career or the decisions that you've taken? What is that? Because I've always wanted to play an instrument. I never kind of learnt anything because maybe I was not too patient with learning. But I'd like to really understand the influence that music had on you.
It's actually, I would say like this, not just music. I feel like it is something called art. So an art which is engaging your mind has certain impact. I am aware of your art also. You do wonderful paintings, I have seen. So in the same way, like of course mother's influence is there since childhood, and I was less interested when I was at home. So I mean, it's most often said by most of the people that when you have something available in your hand, we don't find the importance of it. That was my case. I was like surrounded with Veenas in my house. Everywhere we see, I look here and there, around 10 to 15 Veenas are surrounding me. And my mother used to keep Veena even near my bed. She used to come. Sometimes she used to keep it on my bed also. And then say, you have to sleep there only. Everywhere it's surrounded with Veena. But then I wasn't getting that much interest, which I got it in Bangalore. For which I should make a point of a person, Dr. Jayanti Kumaresh. Dr. Jayanti Kumaresh madam, she is a renowned Veena artist. I had the opportunity of seeing her playing during the Dasara concerts once in Bangalore. That's where I learned earlier due to the influence of the mother. And then when I looked at her and the way she is engaging her audience, and the way, it's not engaging also, she involves every audience in such a way that everyone tries to enjoy that music, and that helped me in my profession also. where I am a person who is heading an L&D company, where I don't believe in engaging the students, rather I always think of involving the students. It is something which I have learned from her only. So then we get more productivity into the work whatever we do. So I try to understand there are certain musical aspects also which teach strategy, and some of those things which I used to correlate, and madam does lot of innovations like this, storytelling with the help of music. So those things made me think and understand, mainly strategize and decision making. It gives a lot of solace in mind at times when I am less motivated, or when I am stressed out. So nowadays everybody is busy with their lives, may not be possible to meet socially, but then the hobby which we have, the art which we have, it certainly helps us to regain our
and gives you that balance also.
of mind. So that is how it helps me in my case.
Amazing. And in terms of, let's say, I mean, I've understood how music has had an impact, but in terms of your career, how did, see, you're from, can I say that you're from the aviation sector industry?
Yes.
I don't know many people in the aviation space, but you're one of them. But I was always curious, how did you actually get into it, and what brought you into this space?
That's when all this happened with my engineering. Aeronautical engineering, we had electives of picking up any of the specialized subjects, and during our time the number of experts who teach aviation were less. Aeronautical engineering, even now it is the same case. So what has happened is, we were given the theoretical subject called airport management and aircraft maintenance management, and we were asked to do an internship. After studying that airport management in my final year of engineering, I started getting interest towards how an airport runs, and what are the procedures to be taken care when you are maintaining an aircraft, or what are the process which are being done. And I was much fascinated about these two subjects, and I had the opportunity of doing an internship with Air India in Hyderabad airport, their MRO. So then I understood things more practically. That's when the interest moved towards it. Towards aviation, and then I got an opportunity to teach students, which was also the aviation subjects which I took, and that's how I moved into MBA in Aviation Business Management. And
so you, obviously it was a transition right from, you know, your engineering days.
Yes.
And you also have a company.
Yes.
Called Maruthsakha Aerospace and Aviation. So tell me about the company. Why did you start it? And what do you see yourself with that company? What do you see yourself doing with the company in the next 5 years, 10 years?
The point is, like, how did it start? In fact, I came to Bangalore to do MBA, and then MBA in aviation, and then find some job in airport or airlines or some associated organization. I came here for that with one bag of my luggage, and then I found my space and I started studying MBA. But in the university where I did my MBA, it was much focus upon entrepreneurship. Every now and then we used to have entrepreneurship pitch. We have to prepare the decks, and we have to put it to the professors. We used to have amazing professor from UK. One professor used to travel every now and then, and he was very precise in making the business plan. He never let anybody to do even a single mistake in the decks. So I did my deck, and then we used to have competitions. I went and I pitched it. When I pitched it, it was disqualified. The same thing. It was disqualified, and there was one more person who was also waiting outside the door, who was also disqualified. Both of us, we were like discussing, what was your idea, and then he found interest in mine, and he's like, this looks very lucrative, we have to work upon this, sometimes we'll meet and discuss. I was like, okay, we can sit and discuss about it. And the same thing I conveyed to my parents. That then my father immediately said, you have gone to Bangalore to find some job and clear your loan back. This is not your cup of tea, just do your work and come back. Then I was like, okay. But it was the case that time. Now if I am stressed also, my father will tell, don't worry, you want any support, I am here. So they understood my passion towards what I am doing. So that's the transition which has come. And then after some time, as I said, we had another opportunity of doing a certification program by Ivy Richard School of Business, Western University. The delegation came here and they have conducted training for us, which was a thorough training on entrepreneurship for about a week. 2 weeks, it is about 2 weeks in different areas of business management with detailed case studies. That also made me understand business more. And then again the same person, we had a couple of times meeting, and then we thought we'll start the business. But again my responsibilities were pulling me back to think of the job. I gave a couple of interviews after my MBA. Then I remember a person advised me, one of the well-wisher advised me, you just start it, where it goes, you get into it, you get it, otherwise it's fine, he said. I thought the same, and I discussed with the same person. He is my business partner now, Vivek. So I discussed with him, and then they have a professor, Mr. PK Thomas. We reached out to him, and but then again my priorities pulled me back. We couldn't pursue it. Then I completed my MBA. After completing my MBA, I was searching for jobs very aggressively. At that time, I thought I was getting nowhere.
So when you say you were searching for jobs, like particular to aviation?
I was open to everything at that time.
Anything.
I was open to everything at that time. Any opportunity which comes, I was able to. With that thought, I remembered this professor, Professor P.K. Thomas. He was consultant at IIM Bangalore under the team of Professor Matthew Manimala. So I reached out to him, and then I asked him, sir, are there any teaching assistant jobs with you? And then professor said, you come, we'll discuss. And then I went, and then he started talking about my business plan. What happened to it? Why don't you start it? Why don't you start it? Then as I said, a few well-wishers came in and they said, just give it a try. Where it goes, and that's how I started. And that's how I started. After starting, I always keep these lines of Ratan Tata in mind, which is something like, I don't take right decision, I take decision and make it right. Now I have taken, when I wanted to do aeronautical engineering, at that time also a lot of people came and said, this is wrong decision, better you go for some IT or some other. But then I took it, I stood up on it, and then I was successful. I got the job also. For a couple of years I worked, and then I came for qualification improvement, where I was even successful there by bagging gold medal. So I stood up on that point, what I did, and I worked for some time. Later I realized that doing two things is tough. So I focused more energies into the company, and yeah, we are doing good now, and we get a better visibility also.
And how many years has it been since you started?
It's been 8 years now. This is the 8th year.
So that's quite a long journey.
Long journey.
And I think you have passed that initial phase of trial and error, and you're more in a different pace altogether.
Yeah.
That's great. But I also would want to understand, you have this company which does a lot of work with training young professionals, students, aspirants who want to get into this field.
Yes.
So tell me about the aviation sector, like what according to you is happening right now in the sector?
Aviation industry is something like, it's highly on a growth trajectory. Everybody used to say Indian aviation will be developing. I would say it's already developed. We can see the airports and airlines are getting congested like anything. So when I say airports are getting congested, it is the people who are traveling. So when people are traveling, more is the flow of the people, more is the flow of the money into the ecosystem, and more is the money into the ecosystem. That means that there is a necessity for the skilled manpower also to support the ecosystem. So that is something which aviation industry needs, and it actually starts from entry level to the strategic decision level. So everywhere there is a requirement of the people in the aviation industry, right from entry level, executive level to the assistant managers, junior managers. Even the airport started upgrading the entry levels to junior managers and cadres of work.
Yeah.
So that is something which is happening in the aviation industry.
Got it.
And also there is one more thing called qualification requirement. lot of people, they enter into the executive levels and coordinators. There was a requirement where skilled manpower was needed. At that time, entry level used to be considered to be +2. Now that +2 thing is gone. You need more qualified, more matured in decision making, with the help of something called qualification, like BBA in aviation. These things are helping out people to learn certain management aspects also, besides the operational areas of running the airport or taking strategic decisions in their capacities. Either it is executive level or chief executive level, in their capacities taking decisions. So these things are the necessity for the country. So that and skill development together will make anybody a better aviation professional.
So you just mentioned skill development. According to you, what skills does somebody who want to get into, aviation, what kind of skills do you look for?
There are various skills here in each area. In simple, if you ask me to tell about it, the main airport is the main elements of the airport. I would call it as airports and airlines. They are the pillars of the ecosystem. So airports and airlines, what does this do? Or let us look at just airport. What is that which is being handled in an airport? It's the passenger and their loads. That's the baggage. Then the next one is aircraft, and passenger, load, aircraft. These are the ones which are being handled. So to handle them, there are certain. It's a highly regularized and specialized industry. So therefore, to handle passengers nowadays, these airports and airlines are coming out with more precise business models, with their own unique selling points. We have seen recently an airlines which has come with unique business unique selling point in the business, that you can carry pets on board. So for which you need something called live regulations. So to handle those things according to the regulatory authorities, live animal regulation. So there is something as such. So for passenger handling, there are certain areas where the skills can be improved, like dealing with a person, dealing with passengers when something like soft skills, understanding the body language and presenting themselves to the passengers in a pleasant way. So that is one thing. And then hard skills, which are how to deal with your departure control system. What is the equipment which needs to be used to dock the aircraft, chalk the aircraft, operate the aero bridge. So these are all the technical skills or the hard skills, I would say, which one person needs to start off with aviation. And over the time, of course, yes, I would also add upon this point called decision making. Everybody is supposed to take decision in their capacities, in their roles and responsibilities in aviation. So that is something which people needs to improve in aviation.
And just to understand, just in terms of how much time it takes. Let's say somebody who doesn't have any experience, but let's say has a degree in aviation management. He gets into the sector. How long does it take for him to get to like a top management position, like a CXO level or a VP operations, that kind of a level? How long do you think it would take?
It depends on the people.
Okay.
It generally depends on the people and their interests. Aviation is one of such an industry, as I said, highly regularized and specialized and pressurized also. So the one who can bear this pressure and withstand it, I would say the growth trajectory could be 15 years.
So, I mean, that's almost like most industries, at least 10-15 years of...
along with qualification improvement.
Along with qualification improvement, upskilling, and all of
reskilling.
That. Yeah. So, talking about all these things, there are a lot of changes happening in the industry. So, what kind of trends do you forecast or do you see, at least with the Indian aviation? Where do you see it heading? Because like you said, the load has increased, then passenger volumes have gone way up than it was 5 years, 10 years ago. So what do you predict?
I would say it will increase in the coming years also. Secondly, the trend is all about innovations. Now, how long can the airports be expanded? There will be a limit for these expansions, stretching. Either it's the terminal or it's the runway, there will be a saturation point. The solution is always in the form of innovations, like auto baggage drop facilities, and making them aware to the passengers, making them get used with these systems. That's the challenge. That's the heavy challenge which the airports will face in the beginning. However, I hope it will be sorted. I mean, over the time it will be sorted.
Yeah.
Let's say 5 years, 10 years. Earlier people were not knowing what is COSS, Common User Self-Service Kiosks.
Yeah.
Nowadays people tend to directly go to the kiosk and they take their boarding pass, and I mean, you even don't need that. You can do just web check-in and go.
Correct.
So therefore, these are some of the small innovations which we will be seeing in the passenger front, because the feeling of the passengers is very important, and the terminal decongestion concept is something which brings out more money, and the area where the feeling of the passengers can be dealt with. So there you need more of these innovations, not only on this side, even on the airside operations. We also have in our company software which makes the airports paperless, which is being used in around 80 airports in Europe. So which makes the airside operations paperless, like accident incident reporting and their analysis, which is making the airport more safer and understand about what are the problems which the airports are having, and rectify it and try to avoid it and eradicate it from the system. So that's another thing, not just on the passenger front but also on this side. We are also seeing this rapid exit taxiways, end-around taxiways, where the aircrafts will have a lot of saving on the consumption of fuel. And we are also seeing greener aviation. That's another.
Talking about greener aviation, and see, I probably just landed once in T2. But I think you have also seen T2.
Yeah.
Do you see that? How is it different from another terminal, let's say T1 or Bangalore International Airport's first terminal? Or do you see any innovation in the new terminal?
I would call it as that is something gift to the garden city. It's a garden terminal, I would call it, because of the amount of flora and the plants whichever they have kept are just so amazing. It looks very, I mean, as I said, that one. Green terminal doesn't only mean this. It is also got something like, we can also take the example of Cochin Airport, which runs 100% with solar power.
Okay.
It is the first airport in the world which runs 100% with solar power. And they also have something called hydroponics in. So those are also the aspects which contribute. And
do you think it's a model that can be done in all airports across India where everything is green?
To some extent, yes.
Like, I don't know how Kochi does it, because 100% is quite remarkable. And yeah, I mean, it'll be great if we can at least have more of Kochi kind of airports in India. And talking about sustainability, talking about green, what are the challenges that the aviation sector is facing right now? Because we have seen a few trends, we have seen a few airlines also having a tough time surviving, not just this year but over the past 7-8 years. A few of them exited. So what do you see the biggest challenge according to you?
I would feel the biggest challenge first is the manpower, qualified and skilled. You need both for the industry, qualified and skilled, and reskilling and upskilling, that should be continuous. That cycle should go on continuously. That's one part.
So gone are the days where people wanted just a 12th pass.
Gone are the days.
So now it's more about.
There are certain areas where 12th pass are also being considered.
Okay.
But I would say, going forward, let them have certifications, let them have a degree in hand, where they can focus upon more on the career, not just job. So if somebody joins, we see a lot of attrition. Attrition in this industry is also high. So the attrition can be controlled when somebody has a degree in hand. And we see a lot of the people, they stall their careers by just sticking on to one particular job role. Now, how can a cabin crew become CEO of a company? Cabin crew can become senior cabin crew or a different designation which does the same. But how can this cabin crew can become CEO of a company, of the same airlines, let's say? Then they would require certain MBA to understand. It's not just the operational angle which they see in the aircraft. It's also something that they have to understand the business aspects of the airlines, which will by default come if they pursue MBA or something more than that, So therefore, that's one thing I would say. So people should look at not just getting a job in the aviation, but they have to think for making their careers in aviation.
Yeah, like it has to have, they should, like you said, it's once you do a BPA, let's say, you obviously at some point pursue that MBA degree. and then after that it becomes smaller learning cycles.
Yep.
Like whatever executive education, or you feel you need to upskill yourself in some management area.
Yeah.
That's something that keeps happening throughout their careers. And talking about all of this, it just reminded me of what is currently happening in India is the PPP model.
Yes.
I think, I don't know, I'd like to ask you on if you can throw some light on the PPP model, how it actually works for most people who don't know. Can you explain what PPP is and what do you see it doing in India?
I will complete the answer for the previous question. Second part is remaining about the airlines coming and exiting.
Okay.
Then I'll get on to this question. Airlines coming and exiting, I feel personally, I mean, whenever any airline comes, we make, the industry makes a lot of noise, new airline has come. Okay, agreed, that's really good. They get branding and people come to know about the airline, whichever airlines which come in. And when it exit also, we find the same thing. I feel it all depends on the business model. We are seeing airlines which have started, and over the time they grew, and they got profits also in the Indian market as well, and in the world also we have seen. That's because of the business model. The business model which the airlines follow, it depends on that. So I mean, instead of looking at or making it like airline is exiting, it is just a business which comes with sustainability. And if the sustainability is model, they are clear with their sustainability of the business, then they'll remain in the industry. If they don't focus upon the sustainability, and that's how it ends up. I mean, that's for any business.
Okay, maybe I'll ask you what went wrong with, let's say, recently Go Air.
I would go first. I mean, I don't know the detailed case. But then I would certainly say most of the time we face a lot of the challenges with goodwill with these airlines. In particular, if you ask me, many a times they cancel their flights. Many a times they postpone their flight schedules which the passengers have booked. Now these are some of the things which will not give a good feeling to the passengers who book their tickets. When you don't give a good feeling, at the end of the day, entire industry runs on the wheels of feeling. And you don't give them the feeling of being good with the airlines or with the services which they purchased, then why do people come to you? And when people doesn't buy your ticket, your revenue load is less. When your revenue load is less, you don't get money and you can't run your airlines. So I feel that's one of the reason.
Yeah. And
the PPP model.
Yeah, PPP.
The public-private partnership model is something which is which has come. I would call it as Cochin Airport. It was the first one where people wanted a separate airport, and people of Kerala reached out to the governments, and then they brought in money. They made a company, CIL, Cochin International Airport Limited. With this as role model, the later governments have brought in the policies of greenfield and brownfield. Greenfield is starting from the scratch, and brownfield is something which is existing, they develop it. One was Hyderabad, which was a greenfield policy, and the other one was Bangalore. Again, this is a greenfield policy. Then Delhi and Mumbai, which were brownfield airports. So these airports were under public-private partnership. Those airports were won by the biddings were won by the groups. GMR was owning, it's still owning in the airport sector. Hyderabad, Delhi, and now we have Goa airport also, which is under GMR, Goa Mopa airport. And the other airports, Mumbai and Bangalore, were owned by GVK group. So that's how they went with the tender process with the policy of greenfield and brownfield airports. And then there was a condition also, because these the players, Indian players, are not into airport sector. There was a condition saying that you should have a foreign airport expert. So every airport had their experts, foreign airport partner in them. Then now we are seeing the new model, which is that's how every airport has started a company. Hyderabad is GHAL, GMR Hyderabad Airports International Airport Limited. Bangalore is BIL, Bangalore International Airport Limited. They started their companies, and then they run the airports with the major share as the groups, whichever has the conglomerates, whichever has owned it. The transition came with the recent times. There is a little change which has come in the model. Is this that it's not in that way that they go for the tendering process. It's about paying the money per passenger. So with this policy, government has given the airports, 8 airports, not exactly, 6 airports were under this category. 2 airports, that is 8 I said, Mumbai and Navi Mumbai, were earlier owned by GVK Group. That was transited directly to the Adani Group, which they purchased the shares, and that's how the companies were being, but not in this model. The other 6 airports model is very simple, that if the airport capacity is, let us say, 5 million passengers per year, so per passenger there is a certain amount which is being fixed, and that amount the airport operator should pay to the Airport Authority of India.
Got it. I mean, that's one of the main sources of revenue for them.
Airport Authority of India.
Yeah.
And this way, and they'll only run the airport operations. They take the ownership of the airport and they run airport operations. This way, it makes the process smooth to have more people on board and run the regular operations. So that's where we can see not just return on investments, but also something called economic return on investments, where you need skilled manpower, where you need schools for training them, where you need continuous training for them, where you need not just in the training ecosystem, but also in the employment. Ancillaries.
Got it.
Ancillaries also come in. So that's how the economic returns we can see. And we are also hearing the concepts called Aerotropolis, for which I received my gold medal. That focuses upon, it's like developing a city around the airport, in and around the airport. We are seeing Aerotropolis, we are also seeing Airport City. Airport City is developing a city inside the airport. We are also hearing something called global aviation villages. So it's like airport will move out of the city, then people will move towards the airports, and then when people move towards airports, they become Aerotropolis.
Like Bangalore.
Exactly.
What is happening in Bangalore?
Exactly.
Everything is
Bangalore and Hyderabad are the
good examples.
Are the very good examples, and Delhi also we can take to some extent. So, and then this doesn't stop just here, and you will have people living in there, their necessities, schools and the ecosystems which come in, and like this, the Mumbai model you can see, Mumbai Airport and Navi Mumbai Airport. So 2 international airports, and in near Delhi also we can see Delhi, and then the other one which is coming up is the Noida International Airport. So there also we have to. So these becomes each area will become, when they become, if at all if they become Aerotropolis, then the region is called as Greater Aerotropolis, and they'll be connected with aero lanes. So that's how it goes. It's a vast area of discussion, I would say.
So you just spoke about Aerotropolis, which obviously I don't know much about, but I'm guessing, do you see that happening? Because my main final question would be, what do you see, like, in terms of India as a country, let's say 20 years down the road? Do you see the aviation sector evolving into or getting into this kind of a model? What's the future that you perceive?
Yes, I would say yes, because we are also having the another set of PPP which we will be hearing in the coming days soon. Now, when the more and more public-private partnership we are observing into this sector, I mean mainly the airport sector, so the strategies which are being followed are 2 majorly. One is strategy of specialization by the airports, and the other is strategy of diversification. When we see private players coming in and investing their money, it's a heavy amount which they keep in, and you certainly need money which is more than your investments. So the money which you get out of specialization, which is like runway operations or aircraft takeoff and landing, is very less comparatively with what you get when you make it a city. Example, you can see Delhi Aerotropolis. So the amount of revenue which comes out of these aerotropolises is much more. So therefore, when we see more and more privatization, we see more and more aerotropolises, airport cities, or maybe a global aviation village, or any other new innovative concepts.
So, I mean, great talking to you. I hope this becomes the reality, at least at some capacity, because you are very bullish on the aviation sector. I think a lot of good things are going to happen in this space, and it's a fascination, because most people today don't understand aviation, like they still don't. I feel a lot of them have only look at passenger planes, and they think that's aviation, but it's a vast area, and hopefully we'll get to know more about it in the near future from you. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming here, and great talking to you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.